Andrew Campbell here. We're at the Worldwide Dealer Session, and a lot of the discussion we've been having all day with our product experts has been the frame and suspension. The new Softail lineup is offering a way to change the preload in the rear suspension. It's a brand new front suspension. It's a little bit above my head, so I had to bring in my product expert again. We have Born here from the engineering team. Welcome, and walk us through what we got going on.
Sure, thanks. So for the new Softails this year, we have all new suspension, both front and rear. And what we've really done is kind of taken the suspension up a level to give you a lot more of a composed ride, but also a very supple and still comfortable ride at the same time. And that's the trick of being able to handle both sides of that equation, right? So we do that on the front. We've upgraded to the dual bending valve fork, just as we had done on touring bikes last year, which is basically, it's hard to see, but it's this little magic guy in here allows us to tune this fork very well for both lower speeds and higher speeds, and get the comfort end in there as well as keeping the control where we want it to be. So this is a nice upgrade over the previous level fork, and provides a much cleaner damping feel and a much more tunable part. So when we develop the bike, this gives us a lot more flexibility on how to do that. With the shocks, we have several different shocks that we've introduced on the new bikes. There's two different levels of suspension travel, so there's kind of a lower and a taller version. Within both of those, the basic concept of the construction of the shock is similar. It's gone from two shocks down to one. We have, what we've done is we've looked at it, taking a monotube gas charged shock, so it's got a separator, a piston separating the oil and the gas, so that we can make sure that's highly pressurized, no cavitation, clean damping all the time. That makes the bike respond and handle better. As far as adjustment on preload, there's several different mechanisms. One is this hand-controlled knob. It's a hydraulic adjust, and you just turn it with your hand. No tools, no nothing. Adjust to a wide range of riders. If it's a single rider, two riders, cargo, whatever it is, we've got a setting. Put it in here, look in your owner's manual, dial it in right where you need to be. There's also a more traditional step collar that we use for preload adjust on some of the models. Rotate this around to the different positions as it states in your manual again. Get yourself an easy setup.
What we got with this one?
Oh yeah, so this one's a little unique. Basically what we did with this one is it's the same concept as this guy, this hydraulic adjuster with the knob. This knob, like on a Fat Bob or a Fat Boy, it'll be external to the bike and you can see it there. This is the same type of mechanism, but we wanted to hide it. We didn't want to have it sitting on the side on certain models. So like on a Heritage, for example, this is hidden under the seat. And this little knob right here just gets turned. Just happen to have this in my pocket. Been using it all day. This little tool comes with your bike. Put that in there. And you just stick this on the end and turn it with your regular handle here. It's really easy to turn. These notches here line up with where you need to be. So whatever notch is here, you'll say in your owner's manual, for that particular loading condition, I want to see 4 lines. You set it to that, off you go. So same, just kind of different ways to execute the same type of concept, but in a pretty easy, simple to use manner.
So what I'm really hearing from the new Softail lineup is we've taken what everybody's been really excited about with the touring lineup and the front suspension, which is, for everyone who's taken a touring test ride, has learned about that, is very excited. But we've gone from 2 shocks to 1 shock in the rear, and the big thing is, for a lot of the models, you don't even need a tool to adjust it, and it's a lot easier to adjust than it was before, especially the old Softail, which you need to lay on your back, have a good flashlight, and some patience in order to adjust it with those spanner wrenches. Is that right?
Yeah, life just got a lot easier.
Life just got a lot easier. So now we got some amazing suspension, and then obviously the frame change to go with the suspension. It was a design that happened together. Is that correct?
Yeah. So everything on this was a clean sheet when we started. So we started from scratch and did everything together as a package, so that when you develop the suspension, you develop the geometry, you develop the tires, you develop the whole bike, you get to make sure that you develop that as a whole, and that makes everything better than being piecemeal. Anything you do as a whole is obviously much better. So that has been a big plus. When we did the frame, we changed the geometry of where the shock sits. It's now up under the seat, but it's not just where it sits, it's also how much it moves and what the kinematics are for that shock. So how does that move with the swing arm and with the wheel? And what we were able to do is get more travel out of the shock for the same wheel travel from a Softail. So what it allows us to do then is we can get more effective damping out of the shock and have a wider and easier way to tune it. We've also, from a Softail standpoint, you can see that in this shock it's actually moved, but this urethane bumper now is the bump stop and no longer is the rubber bump stop that was attached on the frame itself, which was kind of a little bit more abrupt. So this is a much smoother, softer feel to it. So that's a big plus. Also, if you go from the Dyna to this setup, so the Dyna had the twin outboard shocks, now we have the singular one. Well, this is a much higher technology shock than what the Dynas were before. Once again, giving us better, cleaner damping, more control over how we can tune it, and better ability to really work on the comfort and the control side of things and balance those two together. So you see a big step up in ride quality performance from the previous Dyna with the new setup, the new shock.
That's awesome. So what I've also heard is that the new frame is, I've heard it's anything from up to 90% stiffer than some of the other prior models. A lot of that, I guess, that flex is going to be out of the frame. So how were you guys able to make the frame so much stronger and less flexible, but still keep the ride comfort where it needs to be?
Yes. So that's one of the great things is when you can make the frame entirely from the steering head all the way back down through the rear wheel and make that whole structure stiff. It allows things like this nice new suspension to work as it should and isolate you from the bumps the way it should, but it also provides you with a very connected feel to the road and a bit much more precise handling bike. So you get a much quicker response and also a very much more intuitive feel for when you're riding in the twisties. It's a big improvement in that respect.
So I'm hearing a lot of folks who are like yourself who've been riding the bikes for months and months and years now are telling me that the Dyna customer is a little concerned right now, but everybody's telling me once you put your leg over the new Softail that it's outperforms the Dyna, outperforms the Softail. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would definitely say what we've basically done is taken the things that are really good about Dynas and made them a little bit better, and taking the things that are really good about Softails and made that a lot better as well. So you're really taking what has been the best of two things, combining it, and then pushing that up another level. So absolutely.
Well said. Another thing I like to point out is when we were talking earlier, a lot of people have been asking seat height. Is that changing, Andrew? Because when your suspension changes, your frame changes. If I'm understanding correctly, the Slim, which is normally the traditionally the lowest seat height bike, really is pretty much no change for seat height. You guys were able to accomplish almost the same thing. Is that right?
Yeah, the seat heights remain pretty much the same. There's some slight variations, but what we were also able to do is make that access to the ground a lot easier by narrowing things up in certain places and just making you a more confident feel when you put your feet down. So, wow, it's really accessible.
So we have a bike that handles amazing. Obviously, we've talked about the power earlier today. Seat height's in a great position, and your access to the ground is even better than it was before. So, I mean, at the end of the day, guys, you got to come into one of our stores and take a test ride. It doesn't get any better than that. I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
No problem.